Hey everyone, this is Ergo Josh, and I am super excited to get back to YouTube, but this isn't the video I wanted to do that with. I'm actually working on a really fun studio tour video. It's going to be one of the best videos I've ever made on this channel so far. I'm really excited about it, but it's taking a little bit longer than usual. So I think it'll be about next week when it's going to be released. But in the meantime, I wanted to share with you a portion of the reference video, the lesson I made on my Patreon page. The full video is 38 whole minutes long, and a lot of my patrons said that they're going to be watching it over and over again to be able to absorb all the information that's there. So if you're interested in that, check it out, link in the description. But without further ado, please enjoy this portion of my references lesson. This brings me to how to find good references, right? I think this is pretty much all you need to get started to start finding good reference, and you should be using Pinterest number one, because Pinterest is just a collection of all the other images online, and it's in a very, very, well curated fashion. The thing that I get though is like, oh, how do you find that? How do you find that, Josh? I can't. When I search for this, I don't get it. Well, first off, those people who ask me that are usually trying to find an exact image. And we already talked about why you don't want to be doing that. So that's always going to be frustrating no matter what you use. But also, don't do that. Use the algorithm. Don't just search. Oop, I skipped ahead. Don't just search for stuff. Use the algorithm to let it tailor itself to your tastes, right? I already have that happening for me. So let's see what the algorithm thinks that I want to look at right now. This business thing is always annoying. So this is what it thinks I want to see on my homepage, right? A lot of girls, a lot of drawings of girls, things like that. And it's tailored. Some of you might be like, wow, I wish you might be getting inspired from some of these. And you might want to, even something like this is really cool to use for a pose to kind of build something off of later. And then I just have this happen and I scroll through and I add them to different boards that have even more specific tastes to them, right? You use the algorithm and let it find stuff for you. So like I have this faces one that I've been building for a long time. There's 1,400 pins here. If I want to find more stuff like this, specifically like these images, I can click more ideas and all of a sudden I get only portraits, right? Or mostly portraits at least. And I can go back and let's look at another one. Let's look at Style Builder, right? This is personally stuff the style that I like, and I can go to more ideas. And we can see there's all kinds of artworks here of a certain style that I really like. And I can find more artists and more inspiring stuff to look at when I'm working on trying to develop my own style, right? From all kinds of places, from content, from specific artists. So that's what you want to be doing. I have my Patreon linked or my Pinterest linked. I'll link that under the video if I can remember. And I have that linked here as well so that you guys can follow my boards and find some things to help get the algorithm used to you, right? Next up is ArtStation. It is for usually industry concept art, but here again, don't search, don't use the really crappy filtering system they have. You want to just look at artists that you like and then find their likes. So Nursan Bekliev, I talked about him already. I'll just go to his likes. He has 3,000 likes. He's curated a list of artists for me and artworks that I find interesting that I don't have to search for. So I remember this is how I discovered Gloss. Very similar type of artwork, very bubbly, very soft and easy to look at and just enjoyable. Very good at painting lips, right? And I wouldn't have discovered this artist if I didn't look at their likes. And this kind of happens. A lot of artists kind of know who's who and enjoy different things about different artists, and you can kind of follow in their footsteps. I remember learning from this artist right here. I don't even know how to say their name. They just go by TS here, but they have a specific way they break down forms that I really, really loved, and I would have never found them if it wasn't for just checking out the likes. So I have all these artists that I follow, and then I check their likes every now and then that's how I discover more art to study from and build my style. Lastly, we have Pixiv here. There's a lot of really, really great anime and manga art. I won't show it now because I didn't prepare it in advance, but it's the same thing as ArtStation again. Just look through, create your own account, find artists that you like, and follow their likes. And Pixiv also has a really good algorithm too. So every time you click something, it shows you more. And every time you favorite something, it shows you more stuff. And it can be addictive if you like the type of art that's on there. It's all the highest tier, highest quality anime, manga style artwork that you're going to find online. You're not going to find anything as good on Pinterest or just Google search. And here's some bad references. and habits to avoid. So this is something I think is going to be really, really important. You want to focus in on this. And the first thing is going to be for faces especially, but really anything, flat lighting. You want to avoid pictures like this. High makeup, high like glamour, beauty photo shoots. You don't want to study from these. Look at her eye. It's incredibly difficult to understand what's actually going on here with the form with her eye. But here, even though she's much fairer skinned, which is usually harder to find a nice, meaty, I don't know how to describe it, like a nice depth, pictures with a lot of depth, usually have to tend to have fairer or darker skin. It's easier to find that depth there. But here, with someone, even with this person with an Asian ethnicity and their faces tend to be flatter, this image has so much more information about the highlights and the form just because the lighting is different. And it's still pretty lighting, it's not meant to be dramatic like over here, but there's a lot more you can tell about the anatomy of the eye, and you can get a feel for the her entire eyeball in here and how the eyelid wraps around the top and the bottom, and you can get a feel for the skeleton that's under and the skull that's under here. Here, it's all so airbrushed and heavily made up, and the lighting is flat. There's a ton of images like this that you'll see in magazines. Avoid these. You're not going to be able to study good lighting and planes from that. Now, if you're trying to study proportions and you're just trying to study, beauty in and of itself, and you're trying to convey that, then yeah, you should look at those. But you should know that if your understanding of forms and the structure underneath is not good, you're wasting your time studying that, because your drawing still won't look good. Trust me. You got to study the forms and the structure first before you can get into the pretty stuff. And as a matter of fact, I'm just going to go straight to one of my favorite places to just look up. I think it's Earth's World. These are the type of photographs you want to look at if you really want to understand how to draw the face and all these different types of people. Look at the lighting here. You can really get a clear understanding of all of these little forms that happen on different people, different ages, different skin textures, all kinds of things. And the lighting is so dynamic, and you can get a clear sense of what you should be focusing on and what you should be simplifying when you're studying different faces, right? And then if I go back to this one, you can see this is kind of like halfway there. And this is like, no, stay away from that. But this has a lot. All of these have so much soul and character to them. If you can study this kind of stuff, everything you do is going to be way better. So the last thing is going to be warped images. Well, not the last thing, but warped images, stay away from those. You don't want to be doing crazy focal lengths. Usually, those kind of like selfie cameras that people do and post on Pinterest and Instagram. Don't look at those. Those are going to be really, really messy with how your face looks. So I have a few examples here. There's like 20 millimeter lens versus like 70 millimeter. And you can see here, his nose is much smaller than it is here. And when you start getting into different angles and stuff like that, it can be really tricky unless you really know what you're doing. And now here we are on the last page, which is kind of a really important meta thing that it's a suggestion, but I think it's still important if you really want to take this seriously and get good at observing life and using reference properly. And the first thing is to limit your consumption of social media. Yeah, because what happens is we are training our brains to just dump even more information than before. Just think about it. Your parents were not looking through thousands of images and videos per day. They were looking at real life, and they were walking the same routes or taking the same routes to and from work, right? That facilitates creativity. Have you ever been given a task and then they say, just do whatever the hell you want? All of a sudden you have no ideas. But when there's a limit, when there's a challenge, you have so many ideas of how you can make this really work, right? So many different ways to kind of bend the rules a little bit to get your idea to really shine. So don't be like these two people here. You want to be like these people, right? With their mask on, going out to see the world. You want to be like these kids right here, looking deep into the world. That's what we used to do. We all used to do this. We're interested in the smallest thing, taking in the world, taking in references from the world so that it builds our creativity and we can imagine little worlds going on right beneath our feet. You don't want to be like these people right here all day, just looking at their phones, learning, telling their brain that images don't matter. All of this stuff doesn't matter. Just dump it because I'm going to look at something else and I can't bear to remember all this stuff. And then lastly, and probably most important, is don't aim for perfection. And you're naturally going to do this if you listen to the things I said before, where you're not just copying images. You're going to always be disappointed if you're trying to copy and aim for perfection. So let's try to find something again on Pinterest here. Let's see. I'm just going to look for something that I might feel like I want to paint, something that would inspire me in general. So like here's a good example. I really love this because of the angle that her face is at and the lighting and all of the texture. Imagine trying to copy this and make it look just like how it does here. It would be terrible. What I want to do is when I find this, sit down, write down what I like about it, spend 5 minutes looking at it, literally spend that much time, look at every single part of it, then make my own sketch with my own fundamentals and skills that I've learned, right? Even if I have to create like a little diagram for myself for like what's going on, things I don't want to miss, like this line here going strap. I really want to make sure I don't forget about that when I do a sketch. And I just start my own and I do it myself. And then I casually refer to this. Once I've spent a few minutes with my own drawing, I casually refer to it to get the details. Like, okay, now I want to study the fabrics of this and I want to make sure I get the lighting right. That's after you've done a few single fundamental focus studies, because of course you don't want to just be studying everything at once. But here, this would just be like a casual thing you do for fun anyway. And so that would get you a good drawing where you're not worried about trying to be perfect. You think about what drew you to this in the first place, how you found this. You hopefully didn't find this by just searching for 30 minutes on Pinterest, because again, you shouldn't be doing that because you're starting from your own ideas first, or you're starting from a fundamental you're trying to study. No more spending 45 minutes scrolling Pinterest. You're going to be doing stuff that's deliberate. And so if you deliberately find this and you want to deliberately study this, it's going to be a much better experience. And whatever you come up with is going to be you. It's not just going to be a copy of this thing. And that's going to give you satisfaction and wholeness in your work. And it's going to give you skills that can serve you for the rest of your art career.